right. Welcome back, everyone, to Complete Human Performance Radio. I am Anthony D'Orazio, PhD. And to one side or the other is Chief Director, Operations Person, Chief Head Honcho next to Alex, Ariana Scalfo. Ariana, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I think we should just call me the wearer of many hats.
The
The hat
wearer,
lady.
the hat lady. There we go.
Right? The hat lady. I think I
I
should
like
just
it.
do all podcasts in at least 3 hats.
I approve. I approve. Well, we are back after a month off. We took a summer siesta, a late summer siesta. We are
Us
back.
Italians, us
That's,
O's.
that's right. And we are back. We are a month out from when this podcast is coming out on September 1st, 2022, from the second annual Crucible event. Ariana, how excited are you since you're the one putting it together?
I'm actually stoked. I still haven't really done like a ton of like pushing for it, and we're up to 50 participants, which is like super cool. I think that's where we were last year, if not a little ahead. Um, just getting prize packs together, sponsors together, all that like behind the scenes stuff. But that's kind of the fun part for me. Um, and then just the training, like I kind of feel like I have some direction again, which is cool. I mean, I did clean and jerks for the first time in months a week ago, and um, I suck at them again. But, 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 yeah, just like that kind of like everyone's posting up their training, and I don't know. I like the vibe. I like the everyone's excitement about it and helping my clients train for it, and like trying to give them advice without being like, yeah, I made it, I'm going to give you all the top tips. Like, trying to be like fair. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited to be able to put some numbers up this year because last year I couldn't, and
No, you,
I
you had
felt
some
I
bad, some
bombed.
good and bad timing, depending on how you look at it last year.
Yeah, yeah, it was like a once in a lifetime disaster. No, it's fine. But no, I'm just stoked to be able to like actually participate this year. Obviously I won't be competing to win, but like just being able to put some numbers up will be like, I did it. I did my own thing. And that's exciting. How do you feel
It,
about it? Because
I
your
feel
deadlift
good.
is going up.
Yeah, it's. I saw. I've been told a few clients and even people that I've done consults with that may or may not sign up for coaching. Do it. Even if it's it might stink and you might completely not bomb, but not do numbers that you might view as respectable or
Hmm.
good. In some of the disciplines, like still do it because I did it last year. I skimped out on two of the things because I didn't have a kettlebell and I didn't have the erg.
Yep.
Um, but I think about myself this year. I'm like, would my training be as directed this year if I hadn't done it last year? And the answer is no, it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
I'd like to pretend that it would be, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't be.
There's
Um,
like an extra level of focus when you're like for a year kind of thinking about wanting to beat something, your own
yeah,
performance.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, obviously we all have our favorites or things that like, okay, I can emphasize here. Like I like this training and my body's responding to it. I'm going to emphasize here. I know I forget who gave me some crap online about will Anthony start doing the Olympic lifts again? I did do some clean and jerk work the other day.
Look at us.
It was some jerk work, and considering I did no jerk work before the last Crucible, this was good. Uh,
Hmm.
I've learned that my body, I do not want to ever drop my hips to catch anything.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do it. So I just have to muscle it as high as I can and hope I get under it. That's what the way it's going to be.
So the
Um,
key, what you got to think about, Anthony, is that you are a hot girl leaning on a bar. So you have to tits out and butt out. So it's chest up, ass out. And that's your catch position. But you got to
yeah,
tits and ass, just
TNA,
TNA.
TNA.
Every time you catch a clean, every time you catch a snatch, every time you catch a jerk, just TNA. and it's going to make you just lordosis, just like that.
Sadly, I know I'm going to use that next time I try to do these things, and I know it's going to help
It's
because
gonna.
when I was doing my jerks, I realized just by stepping backwards, it dropped me that extra inch, and the movement got infinitely easier. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's not just a static shoulder press anymore.
It's almost like it exists specifically to be an explosive
No,
power.
let's, let's let's not get too far ahead of ourselves for my ability. But it's at least an easier shoulder press now.
Uh,
So yeah, it's been exciting. It's allowed me to try some different training stuff. To sort of keep, obviously, I'm always going to be in love with hypertrophy and sort of the bodybuilding style of training.
yeah.
Or at least I've shown no disinterest in that over 20 years, so I don't imagine that'll continue. But sort of continuing that focus, but still balancing the sort of strength work. Um, the running work. I know last year I ran a little bit over the summer, and then I had a really busy semester. I wasn't able to really keep that up. I've so far, I know we're only a week into the semester as we record this, but I've kept up the running. My
Good.
semester's a little bit easier to handle.
Hmm.
So I'm excited to see what I can do on the 6 hour foot race. Um,
Yeah.
6 hours is still a really long time. That will never be a short amount of time to be
Uh-huh.
on your feet. But I'm excited to see. I know what I did last year. I know I can do better this year.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's exciting. You know.
Yeah. And I think the key to, like, at least for me to think about is like, okay, if I was just going to do a powerlifting meet, or I was just going to do my super total, I would peak for it and I would taper for it and I would train for it specifically from the months leading up to it. What the Crucible is meant to capture is more like, obviously you're still peaking for it. Obviously you're still preparing for it and training for it, but it's more of a picture of your daily strength and your daily muscular endurance and your daily ability to move your body over the course of 6 hours. Like, I don't think many athletes could peak all those things at once successfully. But it's such a good show of your overall fitness year round and your overall fitness when you're really juggling everything at the same time. Um, it's a snapshot. It's not meant to be. If you just did a powerlifting meet, you would lift a lot more. If you just trained for an ultra, you would probably do a lot better. But that's like not the point. That's not why all of us crazy people are out here doing multiple things at once. So I think it's also good to just always keep in mind, like, in doing this, I am sacrificing specificity. In doing it this way, I am sacrificing that top 10% of my ability. And I'm okay with that because I get to do all four things plus the tiebreaker, which we're going to do this year. Um, we had so many ties last year. And the cool part is seeing what you can manage to accomplish at the same time. Like, I was discussing goals with one of my clients, and he was like, yeah, my all-time powerlifting total was this many pounds. And I was like, okay, well, you've been focusing a lot on Muay Thai and you've been focusing a lot on running and on cycling, and your powerlifting is still damn close, but let's just assume it's going to be lower. Like, instead of setting a goal that's like to beat your all-time powerlifting total, like, let's just assume that plus your Olympic lifts, you're going to be 200 pounds up from your all-time best powerlifting total. That's still impressive as shit, since you went from not being able to run at all to being able to run for 2 hours without stopping while maintaining all of your powerlifting lifts. So it's like, is that actually a loss? Or are we just looking at this differently now? So I think, yeah, doing all this at once could probably do better if we picked one thing, but we're not that person. So yeehaw. Like,
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I also think for some of us, it's probably we might not do better at just one thing. And the reason I'll say that is because the what you get out of in terms of your strength endurance by doing some of the aerobic work. Or maybe you're
Hmm.
like me, maybe your focus really isn't on the aerobic stuff. It's like, hey, I want to be healthy long term. I
Heart
want to
health.
have a
Yeah.
decent aerobic base. I don't need to be Nicodemus coming out of a retirement running a 100 miler and getting third place again.
Which was
Dude has to,
amazing, by the way.
yeah, dude. I'm bringing it up because dude had heart surgery and a
Was
myriad of
told he
other.
wasn't ever going to run again.
Yes, the fact that he ran any distance
Yeah.
and felt comfortable and healthy enough to do so, much
And
less a 100 miler.
and this man is so incredible. I love him so much. So he and Jade ran 100 miles like 2 weeks prior.
Yeah,
And then he's like, yeah, Jade paced me and just did 100 miler. And I was like, so did you. Like,
yeah, they're insane.
oh my
So
God,
yeah,
I love them. But yeah,
congrats to
Nicodemus.
congrats to him and Jade. They are great. We'll put their Instagram handles below so you can follow them as well. They're
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah. Check out Nick's whole story too if you guys aren't familiar, like just what he's been through the past 5 years,
5 years,
6 years.
yeah, five to 6
Yeah.
years. We've talked about it, at least some of it on an episode here
Yeah.
in the
Mhm.
past. So you can look that episode up with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, for some of us though, like if I didn't have the impetus to do the Crucible, would I be doing the cardio? Probably not, if I'm honest with myself.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, okay, because I won't be doing the cardio, would my strength workouts be as long or as intense? Would I be recovering as well?
Hmm.
Well, probably not.
Yeah.
I know how different I feel when I do it, and it's one of
Yeah.
those things where, you can tell yourself like, yeah, I know doing X makes me better.
Yeah.
But left to my own devices without like a goal, I tend to let X not happen.
Yeah. It's
And
like that
Crucible,
extra push to add in that complementary thing.
yes.
Um, and it makes a big difference. It does. Like when my conditioning gets bad, I'm like, why is this so hard? Why is everything so hard? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm deconditioned and I'm really used to having no upper limit, really. Like I'm just used to be able to just go. And when I decondition at all, I'm like, now I get why people say 10 reps is cardio. I get it. I don't like this. I don't like it.
This joke is hitting a little too close to home now. I don't approve. So yeah, so I think there's a lot of excitement. I think we're at sitting a month out. I think most of us that are doing it, or if you're thinking about doing it, you probably have an idea of where your numbers should be.
Mhm.
And I mentioned that just kind of to touch on what your point was, Ariana, where you might be thinking like, oh, should I be looking for like an all-time PR? Should I be looking for this or that? You know where your numbers are right now, roughly,
Yeah.
probably. So maybe improve 1 to 2%, right? If you focus on a couple things,
Yeah.
so it gives you an idea, right? As to where you might be, and I would
Yeah.
say use that as a guide, right? So
Hmm.
if you're bench pressing, 200 pounds, say right now, your goal, and that's your like kind of like everyday max, like you knock that out no matter what, even if you're
Yeah.
super tired, no sleep, you knock out 100, 200 for a rep. Well, maybe you should be aiming for 275 as your top end single. Right? That's probably too
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but maybe like, okay, if you get a good day, you peak your strength, right? Maybe like 225 might be possible, right?
Yeah.
If 200 is what you can do on your worst day, maybe 225, 230 on a good, your best day.
Hmm.
Um, so I think that's something to keep in mind. And that's not to discourage anyone from doing it. I would encourage everyone to do it, but it's
Oh,
more
go
to
for it.
just
Yeah.
keep your, to be realistic and not be, we never want someone to be disappointed by how far they've come.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So not, especially with sort of limited time left with how much training you could get in.
Hmm.
If you haven't started running, that's not to say don't start running. You could still, build up a decent enough base to do the 2 hours for the
Hmm.
scaled, or
Yeah.
do like a walk jog and probably make it, if you walk a lot of it, to 6 hours.
Yeah.
And that gives you a baseline for next year where you maybe can put more emphasis on that particular aspect of
If
training.
you're interested and if you like it,
Yeah.
like, or you could bike it. Um,
Yeah.
or just do like the David Goggins challenge where it's just a running clock, and over that time, every hour or so, you just go out and do 2 miles. Go out and do 2 miles. PR
That's
your
basically
total
what I
distance.
did.
Yeah, exactly.
I was out for like 2 hours, then came back, rested for half an hour, went out for 2 hours, rested for half an hour, and then went out for the last bit and just walked
Yeah.
last year. And that's what I did.
You can accumulate so much. I literally walked in circles for 6 hours and got like 25 miles. Like walk, jogged, limped, kind of. Like I was coming off the Spartan Games. I was wrecked. And
You were a mess.
dude, I was wrecked. That was the dumbest thing I've ever done. But like not my smartest moment, gonna say. But I still managed to get 25 miles. And like I gutted it out and like I walked it. So you can get pretty far without running the whole time. Um, I will say too, Alec and I discussed at length, you know, because he did everything last year. Obviously, he won it. We were just talking about like, hey, what can we improve on this year? And the win gate was something that we talked about. You know, 30 seconds peak power, you know, or average power over 30 seconds. It's hard to capture and calculate like with the screen. And it's honestly really close to lifting because we saw our best lifters getting the best win gates. Um, so what we're going to do this year is we're still going to call it the win gate, but to make it a little easier, we're going to do 2 minutes max calories, which still represents average wattage. But total calories is what most readouts give. And literally just, you know, show that marker that says 2 minutes and then this many calories achieved. And that's what we're going to use for the win gate. I think it's just easier. And then we did find a scaling metric for the assault bike versus the echo bike or whatever the two brands are. There is a difference. And some CrossFit gyms already have a conversion factor. So we're going to use that. So we're going to ask people to post or tell us the bike that they used. But yeah, I think that that'll solve a lot of issues. I think with last year, you know, the 30 seconds. It's just how strong your freaking legs are. But now you can have super strong legs, but you might gas out in 2 minutes. So it's adding another level of can you maintain that intensity for 2 minutes rather just what peak intensity can you put out or put down rather. So that's going to make, I think that's going to make a difference for the Wingate, and it's going to make it probably a little bit more challenging, but in a different way. So
Yeah, no, I think it'll be good because it'll, as you said, sort of mix, potentially add for ability to mix up the order between the lifting and the, you know, the assault bike. Because
yeah,
as it was kind of okay if you won this event, you probably had a good chance of also winning this other event.
the, the time domain and the power being measured was really similar.
Yeah.
So I think just making it 2 minutes makes it different enough that, you know, someone who can sprint for 30 seconds is going to
It's
have
the
to
difference
maintain it
between a
for
200-meter dash and
40
an
long.
800-meter run.
And everyone knows the 800 meter is the worst one.
Well, yeah, I
So
mean, some would
sorry,
argue the
guys.
400, but
Yeah,
I ran the 400 and hated the 800 more. 800 I hated with a
that's what I hear.
deathly passion.
That's what I hear. So yeah, that's going to be the Wingate. I'm going to update it on the website, update it, and everyone's going to get emailed all the rules, all of the submission information, videoing information. It's up on the website already, but you will get emailed it over the next month, one event at a time. So you can start to prepare. You can start to prepare how you're going to schedule them. And if you're going to need someone to video you, hopefully not, but it's obviously having someone to cheer and video you is fun.
Yes.
But yeah, you will have ample warning and ample information to work off of this year, using the competition corner, which I'm already in love with. So that's that. What else? There's something else. Anthony, what else was there?
Well, I would say, you know, for those of you that are, you know, at this point, be like, well, I haven't trained at all for this. What would you? Well, I'll give you my advice. Well, if you haven't trained at all
Yeah,
for
you
this,
start.
all right, let's go event by event. That way, people that maybe haven't listened to a previous episode will know where we're at. So, number one, super total. I think most of our listeners are probably have deadlifted, benched, and squatted before.
Hmm.
Um, if you haven't, those are all simple enough movements where you can pick them up. I'd say you can always put those at towards the end. You have all of October to do the Crucible, so you can put those at the very end of October. So it'll give you 2 months to gain familiarity with the movement and then
Yeah.
get them in. Um, the weightlifting portion of it, so the clean and jerk and the snatch portion of the super total. If you're not so familiar with them, looks in the mirror, sees himself. Um, I think there are, some basic progressions. Like, again, be realistic with your expectations, right? You might
Hmm.
find that you're very. I have a client that just came back. He's a long time client of mine. He just came back. He's like, I want to do the Crucible, and we
Yeah.
immediately found that he is very uncomfortable doing some of the weightlifting movements.
Yeah.
Completely okay. And I
Yep.
told him, I'm like, look, like this is our first pass, right? If you just end up doing like the bar, well, that's where we are now. Like it's nothing to, you're starting with a PVC pipe, right? That's where
Hmm.
you're at like 5 pounds,
Yeah.
right? Because those positions are just very difficult for him to get into,
Yeah.
and that's completely okay. So I would say work on some basic patterning. There's some good resources out there. The Crucible template that we have has some good progressions in there, put together by Kenny Barber,
Hmm.
um, who works
He
with
taught
us.
me.
So yeah, and the small gains I've made in this realm have come from him.
Yeah.
Um,
He's a
so
wizard.
it's yeah, it's his progressions are really good, and it's what I go to for my clients. I refer
Yeah.
back to his stuff. So that's a good place to look as a Crucible template. And just if you're not familiar with them because they're so technical, I would say have fun with them in the time you have. Like I
Yeah.
want, you're not going to become Olympic weightlifter in 2 months, right? So just have fun with them. Whatever you get, you get. I won't worry about it too much. What about you, Ariana? What would you tell people for the super total if they are just starting out?
If you've never weightlifted before, or you're super new to it, or you haven't done it in a while, do what you can safely do. Use it as a benchmark. I mean, the reason that we have depth rules and the reason that we have equipment rules is just for standardization. It's just for fairness. Um, it's if you can barely make it to parallel with the bar, do the bar. Do it. Like get that in there and then just work on squatting to parallel and adding weight. For the next year, you could get up to, 200 pounds more than that in a year. I mean, there's just this massive room for improvement if you're interested, but you don't have to be. I would say, have zero fear about entering in 45 pounds, have zero fear about doing 65 pounds. Um, it's a it's a benchmark and it's a standard there for fairness, and it's not there to discourage you. So, I had people last year that would send me videos and they were like, this is the deepest I've been able to squat in 10, 20 years. And I didn't even know I could squat this low, but because you pushed me to try, I made it. And like, I love that. Like, I'm not going to be like, well, it doesn't look like you're particularly parallel. Like, if you're not obviously cheating, I'm reviewing all the videos. I'm going to be like, this is awesome. This is the deepest you've ever squatted, and you managed to do 185. Heck yeah. Boom. Like, okay, maybe it's like, maybe you're like right here instead of right here. I'm not going to care. Like, just
Yeah.
putting that out there. Like, if it's obvious that you're not cheating, and if you have like 500 on your back and you're like, oh, I'm going to win,
Yeah.
bitch, no. Like, no. But if you're making a genuine effort and this is a big deal for you and it's obvious that you are doing your best, hell yeah, I'm gonna count it. Like, I'm not a heartless monster. So the same thing with the bench, same thing with everything else. Like, if you're obviously new and you're doing your best, like, that's what I'm looking for. The rules exist to stop cheating. So if you're clearly not cheating, I'm not gonna like hold your face into a fire and be like, you should have been a power lifter for the last 20 years. How dare you? Like the Olympic lifting, that we allow power cleans, we allow muscle cleans, we allow things that
You
typically
allowed
aren't
whatever the hell I did
accepted.
last year, for God's
Yes.
sake.
Yes. And it's because we want you to try. We want you to get under the bar and be like, what the hell? And like we want you to try something new. And the takeaway could be that you hate it, and that's okay. Like, that's why we try new sports. Um, and I think what was cool last year, especially with the kettlebell, we can talk about that one next, was people being like, I didn't respect kettlebell athletes until right now. Like, like just people being like, oh, it's just kettlebell. Like it's just kettlebell sport. And then we were like, hey, I gotta do a kettlebell half marathon. And people were like, all right, whatever. And then they try it and they were like, this is exhausting and I hate it. Um, I got one rep, like what the hell? And then you've got people who ended up doing 100,
Yeah.
200, 300
Whatever
reps.
Ross did.
Yeah, insanity. And it's like, oh, this is a sport for a reason. Again, it's not something you have to pursue, but I think that trying something new and increasing your appreciation for different forms of fitness, I think it's healthy.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy, and I think it's good for encouraging you, like to try new things. And what would you tell people for the kettlebell? Because like,
So the kettlebell, I honestly did skip last year mainly because I just couldn't find access to a kettlebell.
yeah,
But this year I have actually done a little bit of training, not much. I still need to get the right size kettlebell, but I've actually done something.
yes,
Um, I now before I get into my advice, a quick bone to pick with anyone that's out there that complains about the weights that are chosen. They are the weights.
hmm,
They are taken straight from the
kettlebell,
kettlebell, like what they actually use in kettlebell the sport.
yeah,
With that said, like it's just the weight that is. Like it's not going to change,
yeah,
right? That's like me saying, why is the basketball hoop 10 feet? I want it to be 9 foot 6 inches. And if I said like that was unfair that it's 10 feet, you'd look at me like I was crazy. It's just the way the sport is. So the weight is what the weight is, whether you're doing the
yeah,
pro or the scaled. So don't
yeah.
like
We pulled it directly from
it's
Kettlebell
just
City.
all these standards are arbitrary. Like why don't you have to pause a squat in the hole, but you have to pause a bench? I don't know. I personally think she should have to pause a squat in the hole, but I don't make the powerlifting rules,
Yeah.
right? You can dive bomb that hole, bounce your ass up, and that
Whoa.
counts. Like so, I don't know. It's
I'm
just
using
the
all that
rules of the sport.
rebound.
Oh yeah,
All right.
absolutely. It's the reason I train my
Sorry.
hamstrings so they can act as a trampoline.
Sorry about it.
So yeah, so for the kettlebell stuff, I would say, I guess my advice would be, pick up a kettlebell and go through, watch Ross's video. We have it.
So helpful.
Yeah, like it's super helpful. Because I had to watch it recently when I did my training because I was like, well, I don't know how to do this.
What
Um,
is a kettlebell long cycle?
exactly. And just what positions are you allowed to rest in?
Yeah.
How are you supposed to like you have to stop at the top and then you do the jerk or press. Some of the little stuff that be easy to just be like, oh, if you just watched it real quick, you'd be like, oh yeah, you just do this, but you could not pause at the right spots. Um, so watch that. And then the other thing I would say is like, even if you do it with a lighter weight, which is what I've been forced to do, at least pick up a kettlebell and try it a couple
Yeah.
times with some weight, just because that swing is so different from what you're used to. Even if you come from, a more traditional powerlifting, weightlifting background, it's a very different feeling motion.
Hmm.
At least in my opinion, to me, it feels very different, sort of using that, like getting momentum and like letting it kind of carry it to the top. Like
Yeah. Letting the
bodybuilding, that's the
kettlebell do all
exact,
the work.
yeah. And in bodybuilding, that's the exact opposite of what you'd ever do.
Yeah.
So yeah, so just, getting that feel. And if you compete, I would strongly urge you to not make the mistake I did and do it. Even if you do one rep, I guarantee you there'll be people that sign up that probably don't do it at all.
Dude, yes, we had so many zeros and it caused people to drop from placing down to 10th, 11th. Like put a one, get one rep, like
Yeah.
try for two, just get a number on the board. Like I remember reading the results last year and just being like, why did you not do like Just phone it in, and just put a number because it's gonna jump you 10 places probably from all the people that were like, no, it doesn't matter. It does. It matters to me and it matters to the scoreboard. So
Absolutely. What would you tell people with the kettlebell, Ariana?
play, play with it. Like it is, it honestly makes the most sense when you think of it as a game. At least to me, because you're letting the kettlebell do the work. So in thinking about it, you're like, okay, how do I hinge? How do I create this momentum to get this kettlebell up to my shoulder? Okay, cool. It's on my shoulder. I've got it racked, on my muscle, and now I'm gonna jerk it up. How do I drop under this weight so that I'm not pressing with my arm? Okay, cool. Can I lock it out overhead? How do I have to be stable overhead? How does my hand need to be? And like being okay with kind of just playing with a lighter weight and figuring it out. And it makes more sense the heavier the weight is, honestly. Like if you can get to a 45-pound kettlebell, I think that's kind of the sweet spot for understanding the flow and how the kettlebell is doing most of the work for you if you keep that momentum going. It's why they call it a kettlebell flow. It's why they call it a cycle. It's really just this, okay, up and then down and then down. And then you just switch your hands, and then it's a game. It's like if you can sing with it makes more sense. It forms a rhythm and it forms this like it really feels like a game to me. And it's also interesting what you said about the kettlebell feeling like nothing else. Um, I'm currently training a kettlebell athlete to do a barbell clean and jerk. And she's like, what what is this? Like, what is this movement? It's so weird because she's used to taking that kettlebell out and around.
Yeah.
And then with
And a big
Olympic
arch.
lifting, the
Straight up.
barbell, yeah, the barbell's got to stay close and it's got to go straight up. And she's like, what is this? Like, so again, like, no matter which side of the sport you're on or what you've tried, like, something's going to be a mind fuck. Like, something's going to be. And it's kind of fun.
Yeah, no, I like what I haven't heard of someone say like play with it, but that makes a lot of sense. And I think, if you watch the video with Ross doing the
Yeah.
explanation, and he had the highest score in the kettlebell last year. He did like 300, I think, something.
Yeah.
If I remember, it's insane when he did.
Obscene.
Yeah,
Obscene.
with a 72-pound or 71-pound kettlebell with
Yeah.
34 kilograms. And when he's just teaching it, you just watch him do like one or two reps, you can tell he's not fighting the kettlebell, which
No, yeah.
if you watch me do it, I am fighting the kettlebell. Like we are somehow in opposition. And that's not what, obviously that's not what you want. Right. But it's like you said, it's whenever you learn a new movement, it can often feel that way where you can tell you're not doing it right. Cause if you'll listen to an expert and they'll say like, it should feel natural. And you're like, it's not feel natural at all. Like,
This feels
at
terrible.
no point does this feel natural.
Every movement pattern you've ever learned, you're like throwing at it. And this kettlebell's like, no,
Nope.
wrong,
Nope, that's not
wrong,
it.
wrong, nope, wrong.
I'm gonna whack you in the bicep. No, not this time. I'm gonna whack you in the shoulder. Oh wait,
Did you
now,
want me
now
to,
your forearm's strained because you kept your forearm in the wrong spot. Oh, that's good.
did you want a giant bruise on your wrist? Because you're gonna have a giant bruise on your wrist.
Well, it can match my watch little bruise from the crown on this side. So there you go.
Yeah, take your watch off, guys, or like
Don't
flip
don't
it
wear your watch.
around, wear it like actually just don't wear it. That's my
Do not wear your
recommendation.
watch. Do not
Just
wear your
wear
watch.
wrist wraps. That's my pro tip.
Let's do you
Weak
next.
wrists.
Real quick, the long foot race.
Yeah. Yep.
What would you say?
I would take the furthest you've run in the last 3 months and make that your goal, whether it's 2 or 6, doesn't matter. And then have a stretch goal. So like time it and do what you've got to do to get that distance that you're comfortable with. You know that you could probably hit. You've been training for it. You've hit it before. That like comfortable distance. or 2 or 6, doesn't matter. So like if you know that you can get to 10 miles in 2 hours, run, walk, running straight through, whatever, aim to get that under 2, pace it, plan for that. If you get to 8 miles and you're at like an hour 20 and you think you can push it, push it, but wait till you're there.
Yeah.
That would be my recommendation, just because it makes it more fun and it gives you this sense of like accomplishment in 2 ways, because you've accomplished your goal and maybe you got even further. So make the first goal a realistic one. Set yourself up to get to that point with energy, with extra. And then if you get there and you feel good, shoot for that stretch goal, whether you're on the bike, whether you're on your feet, it doesn't matter. I would say choose something reasonable, to pace for, to prepare for, to pack for, to find the route for, because there's a lot of planning that goes into something that's 6 hours long, even 2 hours long. So do plan, be proactive, choose something reasonable, but set yourself up to have a little more time, have a little bit for a sprint at the end, whatever it may be. And if you don't do that, or you don't feel good that day, or it just doesn't happen, like you've still accomplished the furthest you've ever run in 2 hours, the furthest you've ever run in 6. And I've had a few people asking about the gap, like, oh, should they aim for more elevation gain? No, gap is an equalizer. It's an equalizer. If you suck on
Keep it
hills,
flat.
do
Keep
not
it
do
flat.
hills. Yeah. Yeah. It's just for folks that live somewhere where there's no flat.
Yeah.
Like for me, I tried to do a half marathon that I thought was flat and it was 1,500 feet. So like for people like me, that sucks, but I'm used to running on hills. So don't throw in hills if you don't train on them, or you're not super, super good at hills. Like don't do that to yourself. Stay flat, stay reasonable. Um, if you're a Nicodemus or a Jade and you eat elevation for breakfast, yeah, pick a course you're going to enjoy. Pick something you're going to love running for 6 hours. Pick a cool hike, whatever. But if you're going to try and actually see how far you can run, stay flat. The gap is the equalizer. It is not an edge. For sure.
Yeah, no, I would say, I think the first thing I would tell people is say, okay, where are you at fitness wise, and what can you handle? The 2 hours, I think, is pretty manageable for anyone if you've done any sort of cardio recently.
Yeah.
Because again, you could just walk for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like most people can,
Yeah.
If you have any athletic background or any activity level, you could probably walk for 2 hours. And that's fine. That's completely okay. The 6 hours, I will tell people that 6 hours is a long time, right? It is a long time to be out there. Now, of course,
Yeah.
you could go for 2.5 hours, stop, and whatever you did in 2.5 hours, you could call that that's your distance and submit that for your 6 hours. That's fine. But I would say when if you're just starting out and you think, well, I've done 6 hours in the past, or I've done 4 hours or something in the past, I've got that in my background, you know what it feels like. Yeah, you can do the 6 hours. But I would say if you haven't done that distance recently or anything close, be ready for stuff to fail that you don't expect to fail.
Yeah.
Like last year, I think I've talked about this before. My glutes gave out at like the hour and 45-minute mark. So I had 4 hours with no glutes.
Yeah.
Where it was like every step was painful.
Yeah.
That sucks. Right. The other thing I would say, so get what you can, start ramp up training. If it's something you care about and want to try and improve in the time you have. And I'll kind of like Ariana said, I would say, be flexible day of with your goals, right? And sort of what you're aiming for. Like, yes, we all have lofty goals. Like, okay, I want to, my 6 hours, I'm going to match Alec and run 40 miles again.
Yeah.
That's not realistic for me.
Yeah.
But maybe for me, it's like, I want to try and get close to like a marathon distance. Like that would be that'd be excellent. That'd be like, if I did that, I'd be thrilled. Right. But I might find that, hey, my glutes, they don't give out a 2 hour, like an hour and 45 minutes. They give out the 3 hour mark. So I did a lot better, but they still gave out.
Yeah.
so being able to still being okay with pivoting and readjusting your expectations, I think is something very important.
That is the ultimate lesson of an ultra marathon.
Yeah.
That's what you learn out there. That's what 6 hours of time on your feet teaches you. And I think just being prepared for, I mean, freaking Jim Walmsley doing the UTMB this weekend had stomach problems. This man has set so many world records, like world records for fastest times and for 100 mile. Like this should have been his race. And he had stomach problems and came in fourth or fifth or something. Like, it happens. That's a long time. That's just a long time to exist, and a lot can happen. So just, yeah, like you said, be flexible, be
Be
prepared for whatever that day brings you. That's part of this challenge is
be
to learn.
flexible, and like Ariana said, make sure you have a plan, like a route
Please.
planned. Do not go out there like I'm going to do 6 hours and I'm just going to leave and see where my legs take me. Like, do
Please
not
don't.
do that.
No.
Right? Please don't, for your own safety, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
more than anything else, like
Make sure there's
try.
water on your route. Have
I would
water.
strongly urge that you, if at all possible, you do a loop where you're coming back to either transportation or your home.
Hmm.
I'm very fortunate with where we live now. I'm right by a place where I can do a lot of easy running.
Yeah.
It's very flat, and I can also. It's easy for me to swing right back to the house.
Hmm.
Um, and it's I'm thankful I'm in that place, but I know not everyone's in there.
Yeah.
Um, make sure it sounds silly, but make sure you let someone else know your route.
Please. Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm going to be on this route. I should be gone this long.
Hmm.
If I'm not back by here, come look for me, type
Please.
of
Right.
thing. Call
Hmm.
me. Bring your cell phone. I know. If you're, especially if you're going far. If you're only going like maybe like doing like a mile loop away from your house or something like that, you probably don't need to bring your cell phone.
Yeah.
If you're doing like a longer loop away from your wherever your sort of home base is, bring a
Hmm.
cell phone.
Yeah.
That way, if something does happen, you fall, maybe you trip and fall, you twist your ankle on something, you can't get back on your own.
Hmm.
Like, you can call someone. Um, Again, we don't want you to be injured, but
Yeah.
things happen.
Yeah.
Maybe the temperature, the forecast is wrong. You're expecting overcast in 60s, and it clears out. Next thing you know, you're running in 90-degree temperatures that you
Hmm.
weren't expecting.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Keep
it
your eye on the
can.
weather. Just plan for the most extreme circumstance.
Yeah,
Be ready. Um,
yeah. So just be safe is the best thing I can tell
mhm.
you. And then the last thing, we kind of already talked about it a little bit, but is there anything you
Yeah.
want to add to the assault bike?
Do the warm up. I'm going to put a prescribed warm up on there. Do the warm up and practice this. Practice going all out for 2 minutes. So much of cycling and so much of these, 2 hour time domain things, it's becoming comfortable with how much pain you're in and realizing that you can keep going. Um,
Unfortunately.
so practice it, get used to how much it's going to burn and the fact that your legs are going to keep going. Get used to the right amount of wattage to push. Figure out what that number is. A lot of people, they push way too hard in the first 30 seconds to a minute and then die in the back half when they could have sustained something 50 watts less. So like, practice this, practice the warm up, practice execution. Um, it's it's a skill. It's a skill just like anything else. So just like the running, just like the lifting, just like the kettlebell, there is skill and practice involved in executing this. So get on a bike, practice, play, figure out what you're capable of. You don't necessarily have to try and like specifically train for this to make yourself get, whatever, but at least practice. Because if you don't, you're going to be on that bike 45 seconds in and you're going to be like, oh my God.
It's the longest minute and 15 that you're ever going to have.
uh Yeah. So I would say just practice, get a feel for it. But no, I mean, besides that, and there's no special equipment needed for the tiebreaker. That's going to be the only clue I give.
You've
That's
told
it.
me what it is, although I'm forgetting, but I think I remember.
It's
Yes,
fine.
I do remember actually what it is.
And everyone's going to get told it on October 1st. So
Yeah.
it's just going to be the one event you can't train for. but it won't require any equipment, and it requires pretty low skill.
It
I'm being
is
nice.
very equitable. It's a very
Yes,
equitable event.
I think so.
There we go. Other CHP happenings. I think we said enough about the Crucible.
Yeah. Labor Day. Labor Day
We should be
sale.
laboring.
Ugh, aren't we?
Sale.
Labor Day sale. We're doing a Labor
Sale.
Day sale on coaching. If you buy 3 months, you get 1 month for free. And we're doing a bundling sale on the Crucible template and the Power Building template. So if you haven't picked up those yet, this would be the time to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
we're doing that.
two different deals for all of you. So if you want the one-on-one coaching, we got a deal for you. If you're like, I can't afford one-on-one coaching, but I like the templates, we got a deal for you for those. So yeah, it'll run probably the first when this comes out until through Labor Day at least.
Yeah.
Couple days.
A little bit through Labor Day, just to give people a bunch of time to take advantage. And the master course is starting on September 5th. I'm not closing it. There's still spots. So, feel free to jump in. It's probably going to be pretty cool. And it's the last one we're running this year. So we won't run another master course until probably late in the first quarter of 2023. So if you are interested in it, now is the time to jump on it.
Do take that. There's a ton of resources as we've taught it. We've added each person that's taught it's added videos. So you'll have obviously Ariana, whatever, she'll guide you. You have Alex's initial videos. You'll have Alex videos. You'll have Nick's videos. You'll have my videos. Although I might have to upload them up to the site, but I'll take care of that. So you'll have a lot of different sort of perspectives on some of the things, some of the topics. What some of us find important and what others maybe find more important or less important.
Yeah, you have access to all the coaches historically, which is just really cool, I think, because you're not just getting Alex's perspective, you're just getting his information along with all of our best coaches in their Q&As, their live Q&As that they've done, recorded, that you can watch later if you want. So, and then once you buy it, people have been asking me like, oh, is it just 8 weeks and then I lose access? It's like, no, you keep it forever. So if you can't take advantage of it all right now, but you do want access to the material, you never lose access. You always have it. So you always have access to the forum, you always have access to the course, and you always have access to the recorded calls and any new ones that get put in. So let's say you do this one, you have access to all the old calls, and then we run another master course in 5-6 months. You get to watch all the new ones. Like, it's kind of a good deal. So, if you're at all interested, I think it's super fun. I think that's it.
Yeah, lots of good stuff happening here with CHP. By the end of the year, I would say we should have the long-awaited half marathon template out. Strength half marathon. I know this thing's been in the works for forever, but I'm putting it out there so you all can hold me accountable to build this thing. It has been started, but yeah, I know people have asked for it because we do have this missing gap in our templates of marathon and 10K and 5K. With
everybody's like, I don't want to run a whole marathon, but I'd like to run further than 10K.
Yes,
we're just kind of like, screw you.
No, figure it out on your own.
Marathon or bust.
Yes. Yeah, so yeah, that should be out.
That
should be out. It will have built-in functionality. Where the way I think I'm going to be doing it is there'll sort of be 3 tracks, kind of one where it's strength focused, and the goal is just to complete a half marathon, and then like the other end would be you're really run as fast as you can and just have this strength in the background, and then sort of an intermediate that's like a kind of equal mix of the two. So
cool. I like that.
Yeah. Should hopefully be good. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's all we have, right?
Yes.
Obviously, you can follow CHP on Instagram at Complete Human Performance. It is run by the amazing Ariana. If you want to follow Ariana on her individual page, where can they do that, Ariana?
At running_peaches. That's where that's where I live.
look in the description. I'll put it there.
Yeah.
You can follow me at Durazio Anthony. I'll put the link tree for CHP in the below. That way, you know, we'll update. That gets updated when Ariana updates, you know, deals, the Labor Day deals. So if
Yep.
those are active, look there.
That's that
You will
hat.
find. Yeah, that's that particular hat.
That's that hat.
And we should see you next month, where maybe I'm sure I'll tell you what where I'm thinking I might be for the Crucible.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give some updates on numbers. But
I'll have a better idea as well.
we'll see. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what we can do in the next month. All right, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving us the last month off, and we will see you in the future.
Bye,
Bye.
friends.